Hello, and welcome to the Amity Square podcast. Now, usually it would be Jazz doing the intro, but unfortunately he couldn't join us today, so I guess I've become an owner now because Sparks also isn't here, so we're here with the Amity Square podcast.
Podcast.
Today
Got
we're
it.
joined. Today we're joined with Kinro Gaming.
Yo, what's up, guys?
We're also joined with Jerogan Master TZ, also known as Gamma, and we are here to talk about the events that transpired May 31st around 2 p.m. And events that were transpiring during that weekend, during prime time with being King Nappy, whatnot. We'll be going all over it today. So, did anyone want to start? Or should I just take lead?
I don't mind you taking lead.
All right. So, the first thing that we heard about this, and I'm pretty sure the first thing that I saw about this, or anyone else did, is on 2 p.m. or 2:30, March 31st, Game Boy Luke started sending out tweets, making accusations at the King Nappy, who is a YouTuber that was mostly respected in the community. I can't really say he's respected now, unfortunately. And going from there, Callum came out with some stuff, and then some stuff came out about Nathan, aka Decatur. If you don't know Nathan or Decatur, that's fine. We'll be going over him briefly, and Mudkip Mama, etc. We're mostly going to be focusing on accusations today, and what's been going down and why all of this stuff has come out. For starters, I'm gonna just go ahead and say, I do have some personal bias. I'm pretty sure everybody here does. That's just because we're people. That's just how it's gonna be. I personally think, judge a person by his colors. Whatever he shows, that's fine. Whatever he doesn't want to show, if it comes up later, then that's just how it is. You can judge for yourself after this video if you already judged, and you're just here to listen, put us in the background. We're just here to talk. So either way, Gamma, do you want to go ahead and read off some quoted tweets and we can talk about them?
First of all, I want to start off by addressing the Decatur situation. Decatur, I'm pretty sure that's Nathan.
Yes, that's Nathan.
Okay. I don't have any quotes right now, but basically from what I've heard and seen is that he's been soliciting images, coercing young people into doing illicit things, and basically just going after younger people. And when I say younger people, I mean underaged people. This is him as a grown-ass man going after underaged people. Now, one, I do not condone any type of behavior in that respect. That is inexcusable. It is disgusting, and it is just unfathomable. Also, that whole Decatur situation ended up getting him kicked out of, what was it, PAX? He got kicked out of some tournament.
I believe it was something in PAX. I'm not really sure.
A Smash Bros tournament
competition.
Right.
Okay.
So he was forced to vacate the premises, which I think 110% best plan of action to go through. I don't know whether or not anybody physically assaulted him, but I think the way that they handled that situation upon learning of the instances and gaining proof of the accusations, they handled it very maturely, and I'm glad that they removed him from the premises.
And I just want to clarify, because someone on Twitter, I'm currently typing to. I'll finish typing to them in a bit. I'll actually get back to them. Someone on Twitter just asked me why I'm blaming the victims, because I tweeted out earlier that I don't agree with the manner of how all this stuff came out. I feel like this should have been handled way before, all this stuff came out. Because most of the stuff is within the PokeTuber friend group that was just they were all friends at one point. These people were all friends at one point in a Discord call or in a Skype call or whatever. These people all knew each other. They all knew shit that was going down. This should have been handled in their friend group. But instead, this shit was brought up on Twitter. So I do not agree with how it was brought up. I feel like it should have been brought up in a private manner, and I feel like everything should have been solved in a private manner, and things should have been addressed taking stride from there, and reasons should have been brought up afterwards on people's Twitch streams or YouTube channels or on Twitters, etc. But it was not brought up in that way, so again, I'm not blaming the victims. I'm just saying there was a better way to do this.
Okay, I agree with that to some aspect. There's also the whole nature of psychological, I guess, not really necessarily tormentation, but just being in a position emotionally to talk about it in the first place, especially since it's not just one instance or two instances, it's several instances from numerous people on numerous different occasions with a bunch of other people in the same quote friend group. It's definitely something that shouldn't have happened, one. And at the same time, I need to give props to the people who did come forward and talk about it after the fact, because knowing some people, unless it was brought up, it would have just continued as normal as can be.
Right. So going from there, I also want to say that if you or somebody else is going through something like this that we're going to talk about today, pretty much being threatened, you're being suppressed, or anything of the nature. You if you've gone through Twitter, you know what I'm talking about. We'll go over more in, like, I don't know the word for it. What would the word for it be? Detail? In-depth detail. But if anyone, or any of you watching this video feel that way, speak up. Which is another thing that I wanted to talk about, because I'm not saying that they shouldn't have spoke up, and not in any way or regard. I 100%. If they felt like this was their only option to speak up about this issue, then 100% this is what they should have done. But there's just so much that came out in one day, and it just feels a little, it's a little odd, because it's one of those things, like as Gamma said, there's multiple people in this group, this group of people. They've done things with each other, they've done things to each other, and it's just one of those things. It's just like, why did this all suddenly just pop up, just explode in 24 hours? That's what I'm not understanding, and it's really hard to take in. But should we go ahead and read over a couple things here? I'll go ahead and bring up some things. So we'll start with Game Boy Luke. Here, so Game Boy Luke, he's really well known. I'm a fan of Game Boy Luke. I've been a fan of him for a while. He's tweeted out multiple things about what happened and the events that transpired yesterday. Let me just go ahead and look through his tweets here. So the story with Game Boy Luke is him and Nappy were friends for a couple months, and even years, for about 3 years. And in those years, they went through a kind of romantic scene. Luke wasn't interested, but Nappy was. Now, on the other hand, Luke did watch Nappy's live stream, which I don't know if I'm gonna post that or if I'll ever post a live stream. I do have it on my hard drive, and if necessary, we will play clips from the live stream in the middle of the podcast. So if you guys want like evidence or whatnot, we'll also put tweets up in the screen in editing. But pretty much, Luke supposedly, specifically told Nappy that he was not interested in pursuing a romantic relationship with him. I don't know any of this. There has been proof of messages that Luke has put out. Same with Mohit. Callum also put out something like this as well. Luke tweeted 24 hours ago, "For people that have doubts, these are my DMs, and these are the last time I ever went to Nappy's place." And pretty much, this was 2/6/16. So this was February the 6th of 2016. So that's 3 years ago now. This is 2019. So
Yeah.
this Nappy said, "I'm going to send you this because I keep missing opportunities to say something, but about how you feel about us following this trip." And Luke said, "The same as I always do." And Nappy says, "Okay, nice and cryptic." Then Luke says, "LOL. Whoa. The truth is that nothing has changed. I always enjoy hanging out with you and visiting. Otherwise, I won't take up your offers to fly over. It's been a great week, lol. But if anything, I guess I feel a little closer to you. But when you say feel about us, it moralizes. Sounds like you are asking me about whether or not that my feelings have changed." Which I guess Luke there is talking about, if Luke likes Nappy in a romantic way. I'm sorry if that's what you're getting at, but it's just what it is, and that's what it sounds like. All I can say is that I love the time here, and I am very happy, and I'm lucky to have you as my friend. Although I wish you wouldn't bully me as much. Which I don't know what he meant by that in any term. I feel like that's kind of showing a little bit of Nappy's controlling side, which I had no idea about. I guess there were signs in some projects that he were doing, especially the Penta-op that he released a while ago with Insurgents, which I believe finished in 2018, 2017. But moving on. Nappy then messages back, "It is, I guess, lol. I'm asking because the last time we spoke, things were left pretty vague, and now it feels like we're back to square one. At this time, we're planning out all this content and whatnot, and I'm just like here." Luke then texts back, "We will speak a lot in the car before I left, and I remember you saying that you weren't going to bring it up anymore, and it seems, and it kind of just is what happens." It's weird to me because I don't know what you're expecting me to say, and if you're left confused and have questions, ask them anyway. Nappy says, "What?" question mark. "I'm rephrasing the convo we had 4 weeks ago after PAX. The impression I had was that you were going to see how you felt after, and thought that I was gonna come was the entire reason you were gonna come this time. Hence why I was bothered by you to meet up in LA with that chick or whatever that he's talking about." I don't know what that's about. But Luke's like, "Wait, what? See how things felt in what respect?" And Nappy says, "To us." Then goes on to say, "Your memory is so..." Like, he's pretty much like saying, "Do you not remember this right?" Going on from there. And then Luke goes on to say, "As a love interest," and then goes from there saying, "If I had known that was the reason, I wouldn't have come out. We definitely discussed me coming out for about 2 days. It was, mutual, and we could come to frustration because I was gonna be in the US and I wouldn't be able to visit after my surgery in June. So I have no memory of me. The sole reason being coming was to see how I felt, like in that way." So going from there, it seems that Nappy was still trying to pursue Luke in this romantic relationship. And I feel like Luke was kind of not only I get the feeling from these screenshots Luke was kind of missing the picture. But Nappy on the other hand looks like he still keeps pushing the issue. So I'm not too sure about that in that regard. But going from there, Luke continues to watch the live stream, and he retweets what Callum tweeted, which we'll go over in a second. But Luke goes on to say in his tweets while Nappy is streaming, Nappy is playing the hard victim and deflecting key points, and saying he's lying, etc. He also retweets the heated Mo about some things that Mo was talking about, which we'll go over later. And then Luke tweets, people fight and lie to each other all the time. Friends go through trials and tribulations, and that's what grows friendships. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like the friendship grew through those trials. So going on from there, Kenro, do you have anything to add?
I do, actually.
All right.
So, if any of you guys are victims, I realize how hard it is to come out about these kinds of things. So, we're not saying that he should have come out sooner. Like, yes, it would have been helpful if he could have, but he even tweeted, he said, to the people saying that I should have spoken up to Nappy about things, I was scared, terrified, in fact, anxious about everything, and if I left, I was going to lose my friends. So
was this Luke or
yes, this
okay.
was Luke. I completely understand how hard it is to come out about this kind of thing. I've had friends that have had a similar kind of situation. One of my friends was raped. Another was almost raped. My mother even was almost raped. So I understand how hard it is to come out about these things. So don't feel any pressure. Just know that there is a community out here that is here for you. Just because there's a couple of bad eggs in the Pokemon community doesn't mean that we all are.
Right.
Like, yes, everyone's done stupid things.
Right, and
but
that's one of the main reasons we wanted to make this podcast, is that all of us here, we record Pokemon. Every single one of us. Sparks and is also in the call right now. He's listening in. But all of us here, we record Pokemon. We stream Pokemon. We upload games. We don't just do Pokemon. We're part of the gaming community and the Pokemon community, of course. But it's just not Pokemon that we do, and it's one of those things. It's just like we're shocked because we're fans of these people, and they're putting all this stuff out, and it's just like none of us are like this. None of us we've never treated each other like this. We may not have known each other from like years on end. I've only known a couple of people here for only a year or two, but I would never, in any regard, do that to anyone or any of these things to anyone. And it's just it appalls me on how this is like how this has happened. But moving on, Gamma, you here?
yeah, he's muted.
Yes, sir.
Did you wanna go through any of Luke's tweets before we leave off to the next person?
Once we already talked about the DM conversation with Nappy,
Right.
then that's pretty much all I wanted to address.
Okay. In that case, we'll go ahead and move on from Luke. Because that situation seems to be kind of more between Luke and Nappy issue, which it's one of those things of there was an issue there, but I feel like that could have been handled just between them. So I can see where Luke's coming from. I can see that he was upset about it, but at the same time, Luke, you should have handled that a lot better, and between you and Nappy going on so forth. How, that's how a friendly relationship should be handled. But moving on, we're gonna go ahead and go to Callum, which Callum only put one thing out yesterday about this whole debacle. And this is the main issue that has everybody in an uproar about and who's like why people are pairing Nathan and Jamie with Nappy right now, because Callum tweeted out this little thing right here, and we'll go ahead and put it up on screen. I'll make sure to open the image in a new tab so I remember to download it later for editing. But
I got you.
you want to go ahead and read it?
Yeah.
All right.
Basically, well, I say basically, but it's exactly what it is. What happened between Callum and Nappy? This was Callum's tweet. I'm gonna quote it as word for word as I possibly can. Near the end of 2013, Nappy told me he had feelings for me. I was 16 at the time and he was 21. I initially told him I didn't feel the same way and that I couldn't be in a relationship with him. A week or so had passed, and during that week we still spoke and hung out in calls, but he was acting very weird, and eventually he told me he couldn't be friends with me because he had feelings for me. He referenced times in the past where he had feelings for people that he worked with. They didn't have feelings back, so to get over them, he had to quit his job to cut them off. He had to do the same with me, but because our jobs were online, it basically meant he'd be blocking me everywhere. He gave me an ultimatum. Date him, or we're no longer friends. I don't want to give a sob story, but growing up I didn't have many friends. So now that I finally have some online, I really didn't want to lose them. I eventually agreed to try dating Nappy. At the time I was very ignorant about relationships. I didn't take them seriously and I was unsure of my sexuality. I wanted to see if I could form feelings for him. Of course, that's not how it works. I know I should have cut the relationship sooner, but I was still so terrified of losing friends over it. This is something I really didn't want to get involved with, but I felt it was something important, and I came forward and said my piece since it's been a question on everyone's mind.
Right. So that's the only thing Callum put out, and that's why everybody's been pairing Mudkip Mama and Nathan with Nappy. But at the same time, I'm a little biased in this situation just for the main fact of in Nappy's live stream, and if I can get the footage up, he has this whole story with Mohit and what happened with Callum with this one girl that Mohit was interested in. Callum, I feel isn't he is a victim. I will say that much, even though he hasn't put out any proof. Which, either way, it's still not right. If this did happen, it's not right in the slightest. I don't condone this whatsoever. But I'm not gonna sit here and say that Callum is the most innocent person in the world, because no one is. You can't sit here and tell me that Callum is 100% the victim, because not only is Callum the victim, but he's also not the victim. The victim isn't just Luke, Callum, Mo. It's also Nappy, because they're making accusations. Nappy might not be the victim, and yes, he's making himself out to be a bigger victim than they are. But attacking somebody on social media and demonizing them is also not okay. It's not something you should do. Luke has shown proof, of course, but again, it doesn't make it right in my eyes, at least. I don't know if any of you guys have opinions on that.
No, I have an opinion on that, because it's like ruining one person's career over a mistake that they made.
Right.
Which is like a good thing in a way, because it's teaching them like how they made them feel, but yet you're ruining someone's career, which is taking them so long to make, which is not okay.
Right.
Which is like, I get that he basically messed up, but that doesn't give people the right to go and slag him off on Twitter and stuff, give him hate speech, and ruin his career.
Yeah.
No, while I agree with that, at the same time, I feel like if he didn't play the victim card so hard, then the evidence wouldn't have been stacking up. People wouldn't have been actively searching for things to prove,
Right.
that they were correct, because he did a live stream on Twitch, which it had a lot of ads in it, by the way. I need to say that. He spoke for, what was it, 2 hours?
It was, I believe the exact time was an hour and 55 minutes.
An hour 55 minutes, so 2 hours.
So about 2 hours, yeah.
And the the Twitch Jesus Christ, the Twitch video or whatever was deleted almost immediately afterward.
There are still
And
clips.
Makes it,
There are still
there are
clips,
clips.
but
Okay.
which makes it a bit suspicious.
right.
It does make it very sus. At the same time, from what I've heard, because I didn't get the opportunity to watch it, but from what I heard, he was very reserved about the instances in which he was being accused, and instead chose to not necessarily attack, but to shift the attention towards other people and the things that they've done, in addition to playing this victim card and not even talking about the whole situation with Callum.
Yeah, he was
Right.
avoiding the whole situation.
Which brings up another thing. The fact that we're gonna go over Mo in a second, and Daniel as well, because Daniel tweeted some stuff out. But while we're on the
And
subject,
so did Michael.
right. But Mo was tweeting out the entire time during the stream. He's telling me stories about Mo, and again, he kind of, not only is he making victimizing himself here, but he's sitting here making Mo look like he's a person that like is so mentally unstable he can't handle himself, which I've seen Mo in videos. He's not the most mental stable person, but I also know from experience through talking with Mo directly that Mo is a good person and he's in his right mind. Mo isn't a fucking crazy person. So also the fact that going over UDN, he went over this UDN tangent that Mo only got one thing done for UDN, which was the backdrop, which looks flawless, by the way. But at the same time, he was making it out like Mo absolutely positively needed Nappy in his life 24/7, which didn't seem right to me at all. Going over Mohit's tweets, he tweeted out a lot, so you're gonna have to give me a minute to scroll here. I don't know if you brought anything up for Mo yet, Gamma.
I'm just been on his page trying to gather some things.
I haven't. I saw his Mo has an exclamation video, which will be in the link in the description. As for Penta-Op and Soul Link, we'll go over those in a second, but we can't confirm right now, in this segment of the podcast at least, that the Penta-Op is cancelled. Also, Mo, I believe Mo accused Nappy as well for breaking ties with Callum and Game Boy Luke. And I think that was due to Nappy not getting along with them in a relationship standpoint. I believe that was the issue there. But that, from that extent, and from the stories that Nappy's told on his deleted Twitch VOD, which I have on my hard drive, thank God, we don't know much about that. But going from there, this whole situation is just a mess. There's so much. Now, when it comes to Nikki or Vegas Jamie, there are a lot of things that we found. So going from there, we have Daniel that came out with one thing, that when they were going to PAX one year, he was 18 in the group, and Mudkip Mama was 21 at the time. She was pursuing him through that entire time, trying to not be his girlfriend, but do services for him. I don't want this video. This video isn't getting monetized, but I also don't want YouTube to flag it, so we'll just keep it at that. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry. It's fine. You can look it up, find it out for yourself. Google is your best friend. But there's multiple occasions via Discord and Twitter where she's doing all this, and it's kind of a yikes. in one Discord message, there were messages sent like, "I adore you, I love you, I'll be missing you, have a good day, my beauty," which at the same time, I have friends that like joke around like that with me, but this doesn't seem to be a joke. And
it seems like in a way she's trying to lower his defenses and lower his guard, and then take him by surprise and stuff.
right. Speaking of which, I just found more Discord messages. This is Vegas Jamie talking to someone called Glode. I have no idea who Glode is, but from what I'm looking at, this guy does seem to be younger than her, and they do seem to be dating. I don't know what that means from there. But they're also talking to this other guy. I don't know his name because it's kind of just knives emotes, which I don't know what that's all about. But it also seems that she's not only been going after one person, she's been going after multiple people that are younger. So
yeah, but the thing is with her, apparently she's been going after people that are both male and female.
right, which I mean, if you have a, you know, if you are bi or something like that, it's fine. It's just like don't go after people that are younger than you, under the age of 18, or like it's not right, especially if that person doesn't feel the same way or they haven't even introduced feelings like that. Don't lay yourself onto a person. It's not something you should ever do. So
yeah.
Even if they feel the same way, it's still not something you should ever be putting yourself into.
right. It's just not right in any way. So oh boy. What do we want to go over now that we're here? Because I feel like we're kind of at a midpoint in the podcast, and we've gone over a lot.
Yeah.
I don't have much to add. I talked about most of the things I wanted to talk about. Still need to go over Shady.
Yeah, because I feel like Shady's just like trying to get out of it.
I don't think Shady was trying to get out of it. Shady seems like he wasn't even involved because he didn't even know what was going on, which surprised me, because Shady sat here and he did the tweet longer thing, and he put out a thing on Twitter. Oh, Twit, right? So. Okay, so we have things about Twit. Let me bring those up in a second, and I'm gonna post this in the chat for Shady. Did I believe I sent those to Sawful here, so I'm gonna go ahead and bring those up. So we have things from Twit and his old girlfriend, and I'll bring up some tweets about it in a sec. Apparently, Twit and Vegas Jamie came up. Mudkip Mama had some relationship going on, which apparently Twitch claims.
It was Cuddle of Death.
Cuddle of Death. Who was trying? Who was Cuddle of Death talking about at
Kristen.
the time? Christian Cuddle of Death. He was in a relationship with Christian Cuddle of Death.
No, Kristen, not Christian.
Kristen.
Mm-hmm.
Kristen. They were a relationship at the time, and she did this tweet longer thing, and it was with Jamie, Mudkip Mama, talking about they went on the trip to PAX, and stuff happened between her and Twit, and then Twit cheated on her. It was a lot. We'll leave the link in the description down below and put it up, some screenshots up on the screen for you guys. But going from there, Twit, she forgave Twit, which they eventually broke up. I don't know if they talk or anything. She also talks about how Twit is very manipulative, and he's a terrible person. He also locked himself in a room to try to talk to Nappy about this entire scenario. Going from there, at the same time, Twit himself actually posted things that Jamie sent to him, and claimed that pretty much she paid for his trip to PAX, and also claiming that pretty much she would run like out in front of cars to get him to get with her. He also did this tweet longer, and Gamma, do you want me to send this to you so you can read it? We can go ahead and read both.
I think I have Jamie's. I have two, not Jamie's. Color Death. Color Death actually wrote another one after the initial one. This was posted today.
Do you wanna read that one then, and we can review that?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
This is regarding Twit's statement to Kristen's first Twit longer.
All right.
And she said, quote, regarding Twit's statement, he brought and mentioned my parents into the mix. My parents are the ones who took him to the airport. I was there. They are harmless and not racist like he makes them out to be. As far as trying to force him to have sex with me, I have been raped/abused in the past, and I could never do that to anyone. I actually can't believe the level that he's going with this, and as a rape/abuse victim, it is very hurtful. His story was extremely twisted, and I have shared my personal side of it. I have no interest in this anymore. The only thing his story was right about is yes, I am an extremely awkward person. Twit also had a bad history of trying to make his friends choose him. What I mean by this is, even when I was neutral in the situation, that is, not asking people to choose between us at the time, he would still attempt to get people to alienate me and choose him as a friend anyways. It wasn't a competition, and it should have never been tweeted like one. Twit is a master manipulator. He would even lie about stupid things, like, I'm not even kidding. If, for example, there was pop missing in the fridge, he would lie about drinking it when no one else did. Who does that? It's extremely sociopathic tendencies, which is interesting to say the least. Anyways, continuing. I still tried my best to make things work, and it wasn't good for either of us. We were not meant to be together, and even throughout his intense lying, I still want to believe that there's good somewhere in him. I know that he's not acknowledging the truth, and whoever is reading can honestly choose which side to believe. And this is another statement regarding Electric, which was a female streamer who had found some way to communicate with Twit over this period of time.
All right.
And Cuddledeath says, also regarding Electric, I don't even remember calling her a whore. We literally had a multi-stream together. She was so kind, and I've also spoken with her since. I think she's a great person and a strong woman in the community. She has done absolutely nothing for me to see her in that way. I was hoping that people would learn from their mistakes, and everyone has mistakes to learn from, but unfortunately, it still appears that there's even more lies and manipulation. I'm sorry for anyone in the community who is hurt by these actions, or if you choose to believe Twit's side. It is not worth fighting any longer, and I think the wording of these Twit longers also say a lot about the situation. I wish him nothing but the best with his future endeavors, and hope that you can be the person that you say you are now.
So going from that and going off these, I think the biggest issue that we should address here, especially in this segment that we're in at the moment, is that there's so many underlying stories, and it's kind of hard to believe one over the other type deal. And from what it sounds, it doesn't sound like Twit is the best person at all. And I cuddle death. I wish you the best, and anyone affected by anything that's happened, I also wish you the best. I hope you're living your best life right now. But the big issue is just like there's so many stories you just don't know who to believe, and that's where I bring up another issue of like how this should have been handled in a better manner, and between them.
Yeah, like it shouldn't have gotten out to the public in the first place.
Right. At the same time, her coming out with this, I believe it's a good thing, letting people know. And if she was in trouble at the time, she needed to get it off her chest. Okay, that's great. at the same time, I feel like that this should have been kept between them. She should have handled it, and that should have been the end of the story.
Mm.
And I can see from her perspective and her situation that she needed to get this out there, and this needed to be said. But again, but the underlying thing with most of these is the fact that these all came out on the same day. There's multiple stories, and most of the time there's no proof, and it's one of those things where it's just like, whose story you're gonna believe, whose side are you on, and at this point, you don't even want to pick a side, and you shouldn't pick a side. There's no reason you should, but
yeah, because without proof, it really just goes to the like a basic type he says, she says, and that's not very good for an argument's sake.
no, it really is not in the slightest. Yes, Sparks?
Hence why I'm staying neutral on this whole topic. Like, I'm not picking sides, but
Right.
I'm not saying one's better than the other. I'm saying they're technically needing to sort this out like grown-ups and grown adults and fix their problems by themselves.
Right, and that's another issue I want to bring up. These are grown people. These are grown adults. In the sense with Game Boy Luke, Patterns, and Callum, I'll give them a pass because they were 18, 16. That's the high school level of, not just mindset. They're now older and should know better to just be like, he said, she said, but I just want to point out the mentality that these people were back then to now.
Now are completely separate, and they're separate people now. Like,
right.
They're the same person, but they've changed, so they're not the same person.
Right. So, going from there, I think I want to go ahead and go over things with Shady's whole view on this, which I think Shady was the most shocked, just for the main fact, and I was most shocked because apparently Shady had no idea most of the stuff was going on.
I have Shady's entire twit longer pulled up.
Okay. If you want to go ahead and read that, that'd be great.
It's like, I missed this whole thing yesterday, and then you told me earlier today, and I was like, wait, what?
Right.
And that's like, I used to watch Nappy quite a lot, and I liked this content. But when I found out about this, I was like, well, that's kind of a kick in the teeth.
That's another thing I want to bring up after we read Shady's thing. So Kenro, do you wanna go over and read his statement?
Yeah. All right. So it's titled "My Only Statement." I was going to speak on everything that has happened, but the more I have dug, learned, digested, and prayed, I'm going to keep this as brief as possible. I want to apologize to any victims that came forward this past week. I am truly sorry for what you had to endure, and I hope that the healing process for you can finally begin. You are not at fault. You are brave, strong, and able to create a life of freedom and happiness with this step. When it comes to everything else, some things have come out with hard facts backing them. Some have come out as statements, situational instances, or screenshots that may be inferred or implied in different ways. I really want to encourage you to really dig in before you decide your truth. Do not try to change or steal someone else's truth from them. But before you speak out for or against someone, be sure of the thing you are defending or attacking if you feel compelled to do so. It is very easy to speak emotionally on emotionally charged issues, which is why I've taken the time to sit here and digest everything. I've made a point to love people, even if I don't agree with them. Personality conflicts, differences in beliefs, whatever it is, I've made an effort to be civil with them as many people as possible for the past few years specifically. I believe every single person is flawed and broken, and as a flawed and broken individual who is prone to messing up, I don't believe the faults of others should be the dividing factor between me being able to love all people. I don't want to burn a bridge with someone I might be able to one day help or love, and I try not to be the kind of person to publicly judge someone's life and put them on trial. However, I have always tried to protect my channel and my community from situations that I feel do not line up with the vision that I have for that part of my life. With that, I have decided that the Soul Link is going to be cancelled. In closing, please protect yourself online. In addition to your online bonds, try to build someone's in real life if you can. I would be completely lost without my wife, family, and friends in times like these. I'm going to get back to creating content and playing games that make me, and hopefully you, smile. Keep it shady.
So going from there, if you guys don't know, Shady and Nappy have been doing Souling since 2014, and ever since then, it's been a 100% biggest thing since even in 2019. It's been one of the biggest things in the Pokemon community look forward to is these two creators coming together with their separate communities as well and doing this thing called the Soul Link. And if you don't know what a Soul Link is, you can look it up online. It's a set of rules that Poketubers, including us, would go by playing through a Pokemon game. And I have to say I don't blame Shady for canceling something like this, because this is a collab between two individuals, and the number one thing when you're doing a collab with somebody, you want to be able to trust them. You want to be able to trust that this is somebody I want to interact with 24/7 and is a good person,
Like,
and that I want my
yeah.
community to interact with 24/7. And
basically, like what you and me do, Wayne. Basically,
right. And it's one of those things of like looking now at things Nappy has done and things he said, and even deleting the live stream, which is like super sketchy and shit. I don't think that Shady wants his community interacting with Nappy at the moment, at least for now, because he wants to protect his fans, and I appreciate that he's over here. He doesn't have a bias, and he's doing his best to address the situation very, very moderately and casually, which I feel like this is what all of the friend group should have done. And I
wholeheartedly agree. I have the utmost respect for Shady because of the way that he handled it.
Right. I think Shady is a shining example of what any content creator should do in a situation like this. Any and every content creator, any person in a situation like this. And it's just disappointing to see all these others saying he said, she said, he said, so on, going on from there. And it's just like, what do you do? Who do you believe at that point? Because it's like, what do you do? What do you say?
What you have to do at this point is just, you have to take everything with a grain of salt. And you have to go and you gotta dig. You have to dig and find the truth for yourself.
I think the number one thing to take away from this is just judge from what you see, and judge, like, is this a person I want to follow? Do I believe this? And another thing I wanted to go ahead and say is, like, I want to go ahead and put this out there. I know Gamma agrees with this, and I think you do too as well, Sparks. But I feel, and this is just my opinion, I feel a person's content should be treated differently from a person's real life actions. And the reason I say this, if something makes you smile and laugh, that's great. That's fantastic. That's something that should be praised. But if the person themselves aren't a good person, I mean, that's on you. If you enjoy their content, that's great. Enjoy their content. But if they're a bad person, don't sit there and continuously bash on them. And I gotta say, like, I may sound like a hypocrite, but in terms of speaking for certain other people in the community, some people, I don't like them and I don't enjoy their content either. So, but again, going into the next subject, does it make it right just because Nappy has supposedly, because most of the things we know he's done, some of the things we don't know if he's done them or not, like with Callum. But I think going to the subject now should be, is it right to bash and burn down somebody's like life's work just because of a few things they've done in the past?
No.
And
That's
then
wrong.
right, but then again, at the same time, is it right to burn it down if it's based around all this controversy and controversy and started with that? Because it's just like it seems Nappy's whole premise was built on now looking at that, what everyone sees is like this was only made for the views and to get attention and bigger, which I mean that's what YouTube's about. But at the same time, it's like I still don't think it's right to just take a giant fat shit.
Yeah, and I saw this thing. I don't remember who said it, but apparently, that they're all leeching off each other.
Right.
And they've been having toxicity in the whole entire time.
Which is another reason why Lumio Station kind of tanks, because they're all leeching off each other to make as much money as possible. And
I think that was in Verlisify's video.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I personally kind of agree and disagree with.
Yeah.
Because if they weren't friends, why would they make something like that? If they didn't trust each other, why would they make something like that? I feel like it got to a point where it was like that, and that's maybe why it stopped. But at the same time, you know.
Yeah.
At the same right, like speaking about that in particular,
right?
Everything's all fine and good when you initially come up with an idea, and then it starts to work, and then all you're thinking about is just pushing through and getting through it, and just going as hard as you can into this one venture, and you start to ignore or just suppress all of the bad stuff that's going on involving it. So even if like all of these things were happening, I don't think anybody would have spoken about it at the time, because this thing that they were doing collectively as this group was going great.
Yeah, and you don't want to ruin that for everybody involved.
Exactly.
You don't want to be that person. And I think it's only natural that all of these people are speaking out about this, because once one person comes out about it, you feel like, oh, I can actually speak about this now.
Right,
so
exactly.
Been suppressing, it's only natural to want to let them out.
Right, and I think that's from there is where like so much shit started falling from the sky when one thing was released. So also Twit just tweeted. I was scrolling through Twitter just now while we're talking about this, because we're always getting live updates, because shit can happen after this. Is probably going to be the only podcast we talk about this. We're going to have more lighted conversations and subjects on these podcasts. But Twit just tweeted out, I'm probably going to unfollow everyone for a while. FYI, I'm taking it personal. Don't take it personally. I've been a part of this community for months. I've been trying to make my own path for a while now. That's drama 3. All this shit has been tripping at the point, and I'm over it. The past few days, I've said affected to those affected by what happened. I can genuinely apologize for knowing what's going on ahead of time. If it is brought to me and I looked over it, or it made it feel unimportant, I am truly sorry. I only ever wanted to build a safe community of inclusive people from all walks of life. Feel however you want to feel, a place in this world, because the last thing I've decided has been my safe place with all of you. I appreciate all of you and your support throughout the years. And that's where he ends his tweet. You can make your own judgments and assumptions on that. If you're a fan of Twit and you like his stuff and you believe him, keep supporting Twit. That's all you choose, you decide. You're your own person. So with that, I think the last thing we need to talk about is why we think Nappy deleted the Twitch VOD.
Saving face. Simple as that.
I mean, I think you're right, but I think there's more to it. I feel like there's more behind this than what was brought to light the other day, because not only do I see a pattern with most of this stuff, it's one of those things of like it started when the Nathan news came out, and then Luke said something, and then Mo said something. So it feels like this has been like a witch hunt.
Yeah.
And I want to use that term loosely, because I don't want to say that they're all out to destroy Nappy's channel, which, I mean, it kind of seems obvious like that, but at the same time, it's one of those things like you can't unsee it being that way. And again, as you said, Nappy saving face, but at the same time, Nappy most likely deleted the live stream for one, people were Bullet on Mars pissed off. Two, he didn't talk about anything that anyone wanted to hear. He didn't admit to anything. He didn't apologize for anything. He just victimized himself. So
he's probably thinking, cut my losses, delete the stream, now we'll know what happened.
At the same time, though, as he said, he's going to take a few days off social media. You can't just act like nothing happened. Literally, your whole entire friend group just exploded up at you. You didn't listen for all these years, and this is the result. You can't just act like nothing happened. So
I want to address something said by Ralphie at 12:49 p.m.
Right.
This is a statement regarding Nappy, his cousin.
Okay.
My head has been spinning around this whole weekend, piecing together what I could. I'm one to look at the bigger picture and see from all perspectives. So to those who were affected, let me start off by saying I'm truly sorry. I cannot imagine what you guys have gone through. I do not tolerate any actions of harassment or pedophilia. That's where I stand. So learning that some friends have been doing some actions has me hurt, angered, and I don't think I can go on with them in my life at this point in time. No, I know my cousin has been brought up and has issues with others. My heart was and still is aching. Nobody wants to see their family at the stake. I won't lie, I had a mental breakdown of sorts, and I had to get away from everything. Everything was just heavy on my chest. I understand where people are coming from, and if they must distance me as well, do what you must. I will not bear hate against anyone. I've met a ton of friends that I'll never forget. To that circle of friends, just know that my respect still stands, and I wish all of you to go on and be successful in whatever you do. My statement still stands, said before. I don't tolerate any behavior of that nature. I will have my own words with my cousin and talk it out. At the end of the day, he's still blood, and I love him dearly. Ralphie.
I think that's another thing. I don't think Nappy really thought about is that how this was going to affect Ralphie, because like we all knew that Ralphie was his cousin slash more like his brother at this point, and it's just one of those things of like you can't just think about you got to think about the people around you as well, and I feel like that's not what Nappy did.
He thought about himself,
right? And it's just terrible. Absolutely terrible. So moving on from there, I think we're pretty much wrapping up here. We've talked about pretty much everything we needed to, unless anybody has anything to add.
Just basically like a summation, I want to say.
All right.
But not in any way am I saying that the way in which this was carried out or the actions by these persons were okay. They're not by any means. At the same time, because everyone in this community is so interconnected that everybody knows everybody, it's a little hard to choose a side in quotations, and it's really difficult to go after one person in particular when they have and it's the way that it's being portrayed over Twitter is this person has such a reach over everyone that one thing that this person does affects everybody else. And I'm just a little concerned that what occurred yesterday is gonna affect the rest of the community for a long time.
I agree with that 100%. I think that and this is unfortunate to say, because I do think this is gonna happen. I think everybody in the community is gonna be divided at this point in factions. There's not really much you can do or say about that, because it's just how it is. And it's gotten to a point where it's just like, if you believe one person, and a lot of people have clearly stated their opinions and are just like, if you don't agree with me, don't talk to me. And it feels very toxic, and it doesn't feel very safe.
Yeah, because the Pokemon community can be toxic at times, but now it's just gone to a
It's
whole nother scale. It's gone way too far out of proportion. It's gone way out of water than it needed to be. It's just like, it was this tiny little thing. Now it's blown up to something massive, which it didn't need to be, really.
Yeah, it's a whole another level of what the fuck have we gotten ourselves into.
Pretty much.
I'm sorry. You go ahead, Sparks.
Yeah, because most people are probably going to be like, now how the fuck are we getting out of this mess? Well, we're probably not going to get out of this mess very easily. But as I'm saying, I've been keeping an eye on stuff. Like, where is it? Give me a second. Trying to figure out where it is. Like, because I've got his sub count currently up, and I've noticed he's been going down like rapidly.
Right, and people like Dobbs and King Corfish, they're at PAX, and this is the last day / yesterday was the last day of PAX. Everybody's winding down and leaving. It's gotten to a point where it's like, people are, and we went over this before. People are laughing, and we're going over like this man's downfall of his work, which I didn't think was right. A lot of multiple other people didn't think was right. Even if you're not on his side, and you look at how this is being received, it doesn't feel okay to me.
I just want to say something really quick, if that's okay.
Yeah.
We're not saying that people that are going through this should go through it alone. Like, dealing with it privately doesn't mean that it's just you and the other person. It's you, the other person, and people that are really, really close to you. It's not the entirety of social media.
There's a meme Wayne's just sent.
Yeah, I saw it. I had to post it.
But, like, in all seriousness, don't try and go through it alone. That's how it gets hidden for all of these years.
Right. Like, if you
find people that you can talk to about this kind of thing.
And was saying that we're just smaller creators. Just to name a few, I know Cello, I know Sparks, I know Kenro, I know Gamma, and multiple other people. I know all these other people through Gamma, through Sparks, through Kenro. I meet new people all the time. I know people that are smaller than me. I know people that are bigger than me. We're all considered small creators. We're all the smaller part of YouTube, and most smaller creators, including us, we're the small backbone tail of the Pokemon community, you could say. Our opinions most of the time don't get out there. They don't really matter, and this is one of those things where just like, we want to let people know with this podcast, hey, we're not all assholes. We care, and if you guys need help, talk to us. We're on Twitter. You guys can DM us. I'm pretty sure all of our DMs are open on Twitter.
Yeah, mine should be, hopefully.
Right, and we'll be here to conversate. All of our Twitters will be in the description. All of our YouTube channels will be in the description. Most of us upload every day. Some of us don't know how to keep a schedule, taking shots at Sparks.
Oh,
taking
shut
shots
up,
at
Wally.
yourself, Wayne.
You're right. You're right. I don't have a schedule.
Hey, I got better at it at least.
I
But,
mean, I don't really have a schedule. I just kind of do it by hand, but it's usually like honest.
Yeah. But I think with that, are we pretty much done here?
It's like
Yeah,
what I was gonna say before we're done. It was like I saw like what Michael did. That's
Yeah.
what I wanted to mention earlier. Like that was uncalled for. It's like I still like his content, but what he did was kind of way uncalled for.
Right, and it's another thing I want to put out is that if you're a smaller creator, and I've done this before. I'm guilty of this. Even if somebody's done something wrong, you shouldn't celebrate somebody's downfall of their content. Even if their content is complete garbage. It's
And
not,
even if they do deserve it.
Unless it's TC.
right.
Unless it's T-Series.
Unless it's T-Series. Subscribe to PewDiePie. Subscribe to PewDiePie,
Yeah.
100%. Promo code subscribe to PewDiePie will be in the link description down below.
And he's currently winning though, so...
Right. But I think we're done here. Thank you guys for watching. This was a short podcast by, well, not really short. This is pretty long. These podcasts are probably going to be around an hour long, maybe 2 hours long, depending on the subjects that we go over. Also, Jazz and Sparks here will probably be leading them. I won't be leading them all the time. I won't be in them all the time, but it's been nice knowing you guys, seeing you guys out here. Whoever's watched, whoever subscribed, thank you for liking the video and commenting. Please comment what you think, so we can talk to you guys, because we'd really like to know your opinions and what you think about the entire situation. And also, the Square is not just going to be used for podcasts. We will have some gaming videos going up over here soon. I don't know when soon is, but we're planning things and we're going to get some stuff done. So thank you guys for watching.
Maybe a party stream thing.
Right. Amity Square also has a Twitch, which will also be linked in the description below. We'll be streaming games over there as well soon enough. Till then, thank you guys for watching. And we don't have an outro, so this is the Amity Square podcast out.
Bye, guys.